being able to take yourself with your own body and see how far you can get or where we're going. It's a pretty cool way to see an area or adventure.
Welcome to the Löw Tide Böyz, a Swimrun podcast. I'm Chip.
And I'm Chris, and this is episode 75 of the show.
3/4 of the way to a
Hundy. This week, we head to the Shire, New Hampshire, not Tolkien's Middle-earth, to chat with Keith Lundquist.
Precious.
And Kanoa King of Team Keith and the Unicorn. These guys are one of the up-and-coming American teams, and we're super stoked to introduce them to our listeners. But more on this later in the show.
Now for our training updates. So the training continues. The consistency continues. We've really been enjoying it. We put a 2+ hour swim run practice in over the weekend, and we're feeling like we have good progress. Our transitions are crisp and snappy and fast, dialed in. And overall, we're really happy with how the pacing's coming along. Yeah. And we have another little Casco Bay simulation.
Yeah, we're going to do a
distance
sim.
simulation.
Yeah, we're going to do a sim of, I think, the first
half-ish.
A little bit more than half.
Yeah, something like that coming up this weekend on Saturday. Also, got to be racking up those big battle points, too.
Yeah.
So, Casco Bay, we see you. We're coming for you. LFG. On to this week's Shoutouts.
All right, so this week we're shouting out the 10 folks from the swim club Pool to Lake in the UK who all completed their first swim run this past weekend at the Box End Bedford Swimrun put on by our friends at Ads Keenan's Mustard Events. We'll be talking about this event a little bit later in the show, but we have no idea if they listen to the show or not, but either way, we're really happy that they all came out and did their first event and looked like they had a great time.
Absolutely. And if you want to learn more about As Keen as Mustard, check out our episode with Nikki and Chelsea Bailey, the mother-daughter duo.
Yeah.
Episode 56.
Yeah.
Now, for this week's Feats of Endurance. Endurance. So we're going back to the Netherlands for this week's Feats of Endurance winner, Ellie Dyke. She's taking part in Anvil Coaching's Big Battle. And she literally did 8 swim runs last week. 8. That sounds like a Beatles song. She's swim running 8 days a week. So way to go, Ellie. Kudos to you. And if you're also looking for some kudos, make sure to make your way over to the Löw Tide Böyz Strava Club. You can connect with fellow swim runners as they train and race all over the world. And you have a chance to get a cool shout out on a super niche podcast.
Super niche.
Now, for everyone's favorite segment theme song, This Week in Swimrun, powered by RaceID.com.
All right, so we have a lot of swimmer news to share this week, but I should say when Chipper mentions everyone's favorite, I think he's talking about
I'm just talking about us. Everyone's favorite, everyone being Chris and Chip.
Everyone at Studio G. Anyway, first off, we got actually something super special to share with everyone. We are debuting our new segment, Notes from the Field. And this week's segment has guest correspondent Shane Chaplin. He's a former guest of the show, episode 43, if you're following along. He's also our favorite Aussie who's living in Sweden. So, full stop. I'm just going to let that get a little pregnant pause there for him. So, your favorite Aussie living in Sweden, Shane. Anyway, he was present at the ARC Super Sprint that was put on by EX Swimrun a few weeks back, and he shared with us and you his expert analysis on how the race went from his perch atop of a stand-up paddleboard on the swim leg of the event. So, Shane, thanks for the special report.
And here it is.
Yeah, thanks very much, gents. A few weeks ago, I had the opportunity to be the safety support person on the stand-up paddleboard at the EX Swimrun sprint race. Now, this is a new type of race format, different to the long-distance endurance format. Very short course, 1,200 metres only, starting with a 700 run into a 200 swim and then a 300-metre run with a pretty gnarly uphill finish at the end. Otherwise, the running is pretty non-technical. There's a good field turned up, both especially on the women's side, but also to a lesser extent maybe on the men's side. Ertler podium athletes, so long-distance specialists, and a couple of relative unknown sprinters who were there to try and upset the pecking order as well. Now, some of my observations from the day were that, well, first of all, this was a race consisting of some of the top athletes in the swimrun world at the moment. So all of them were really capable and fast swimmers. There were no weak swimmers, that's for sure. But there were differences in styles and approaches which played out over the day and definitely impacted the result. With about 60-40 running swimming, there was definitely opportunity during the swim to either sort of make or break your race. Of course, drafting was really important here because, especially for those athletes that had the strong run, weaker swim combo, if you could find good feet, get onto them, hang on to them, you could really increase your chances of staying in the game. And that's exactly what Josephine Youngvert did, where she especially in one of the semi-finals, pulled off a really good draft and managed to get herself into the finals. So that was a great effort to see. Some of the others, especially on the men's side, a little bit more macho sort of approach, tried to open up these enormous run leads and then defend that in the water. It was great spectator viewing, but ultimately didn't work in the most part. Perhaps with exception being in the final, actually, where Max Anderson managed to do just that, defend his run lead in the water from Frederick Axelgaard, who's Erteleur world champion and record holder. Quite an exciting final. But generally, even though a 50-metre lead, say after the first 700 run, looks pretty impressive, in terms of time it's only about 10 seconds. And if you go into the water fairly overheated and stressed, knowing that the peloton is behind you about to sort of engulf you, it can be a pretty stressful place to live. And didn't tend to work for the majority of athletes during the day. So I think if I was in that position, I would have tended to stay in the run pack at the start and then get myself nicely into the swim pack on the swim and just try and hang in there and use the run advantage to the max at the end if you're that type of athlete. A couple of guys went without pool buoys. And once again, this is great from a spectator point of view to see if this worked. They certainly ran and transitioned fast. But what I saw from the SUP was that their feet were clearly 10 centimetres under the water surface. So a lot of drag there compared to the pool buoy swimmers who have their feet sometimes well clear of the water. So with running shoes on, this really matters. Yeah, so that ultimately didn't really work for them, especially as they progressed through the heats a little bit and got tighter and tighter. One of the athletes was also kicking, and I know from my own experience, if you kick with running shoes on, you actually go backwards. So you just got to keep them still and point the toes as much as possible, whether you've got a pool buoy in or not. Some people also commented to me about Desiree Anderson's swim style. So she won the women's side of the racing. Fantastic fast swimmer, at least as fast as most of the men there, quicker than probably half of them. She has a really high cadence, short sort of stroke, and people said to me, well, isn't that tiring? It looks absolutely exhausting. And yeah, maybe it looks exhausting, but the fact of the matter is that at the top end of swimming, there are a lot of athletes in the open water who have this style of short, punchy stroke, and Desiree's not one of the tallest in the field, and so when you have a little bit less wingspan like that, you have to turn the arms over quicker to stick with the taller people, let's say. And she does just that. It works really well for her. She had smallish hand paddles on, so she could pull them through the water. This type of stroke has no overglide, no dead spots. It's got constant drive, so yeah, it's a really effective way of swimming. So I would suggest, for people to not get too stuck on this long, glidey, slow turnover approach, but actually experiment around with their stroke a little bit, especially in the choppy water when you need this constant drive. It really can work quite well for you. But anyway, the day was ultimately won by the established pecking order. The top-ranked long-distance athletes won this sprint event. There were no upsets by any upstarts. So we haven't yet seen the emergence of the sprint specialist, you could say, but I'm sure this is coming, and it'll be interesting to see how this type of event and space within Swimrun develops in the future. For my own part, I look forward to getting the chance to do this again because it really is quite fun to see the top athletes from above for a whole day like I could on this particular day. So thanks very much for listening.
That was pretty cool.
That was great. I mean, Shane put out similar things, but in a brief little Instagram post where he was, and we were reading it. We thought this is such cool analysis. Let's get him on the show to talk. But I mean, he's such a swimmer's mind.
Well, I mean, he's swimmer's mind. He's paying attention to swimrun. One of his best buddies is Michael Lamel.
Yeah.
He's witnessing the sport from a very unique vantage point, not just as a participant, but also as someone who's like thinking about swimming for swimrun in particular. So when he sees an event like this, I just thought it was super cool. Lots of really great insights. So Shane, thanks again for the special report. Our first ever correspondent in the field. Thank you so much. In other news, was that a good transition?
I love it.
Thanks. Odyssey Swimrun released their latest course overview Zoom recording for their race Leadington last week, so you can check that out on their YouTube page to get all the info you need to convince you to sign up if you haven't been convinced already by us. It's race week for Swimrun Knox, and if you're in the general vicinity of Tennessee or willing to travel, registration is open for either their short or long course distances that are taking place on June 13th. Week 1 of Envol Coaching's The Big Battle is officially in the books. Make sure you follow Envol Swimming on Instagram to see how the teams are progressing. They also have a leaderboard with all the standings at envolcoaching.net for folks who want to check that out. In case you're curious about Team Löw Tide Böyz and are too lazy to check the website, we're not in last place. We haven't gotten to the phase of the big battle where we start trash talking other teams because, they could just go scoreboard on us. But that might happen. Who knows?
You never know. I don't know what legs we have to stand on. Top American team.
Top American team.
Let's
there
do
you
it.
go. There you go. Crossing the pond, our friends at As Keen as Mustard Events had their first race of the year over the weekend, and it was called the Box End Bedford Swimrun, and it didn't disappoint. Fun fact, if you search Google Maps for Box End, it describes that park as a leisure park.
Leisure, I believe.
Leisure. I think they would say leisure. You're right. So anyway, good times were had by all at their first event of the year. Their next event, the Nene Park Peterborough Swimrun, is coming up really quick on June 20th. So if you're in the UK, keen to try Swimrun, see what I did there?
I love it.
And we can't recommend a more welcoming event series for folks to try out. And if you want to learn more about As Keen as Mustard events, as Chipper mentioned, you can check out episode 56 of the show with Nikki and Chelsea Bailey, the mother and daughter duo directors. The Stockholm swimrun took place over the weekend. The field was limited to only 150 participants for this Attila Merit race, but it looked like a lot of fun. And their winner's trophy was humongous. It looked like a Stanley Cup or something. The thing was huge. So go to their Instagram page, check it out. It was lofty. It was lofty.
It was a doozy?
Yeah. So the race and city, whose name I've been butchering for weeks, the Jönköping Swimrun, powered by Speedo, took place over the weekend as well. This race had some really heavy hitters in the field, and the competition for this Attila Merit race looked fierce. Shout out to Marie Anderson, Annika Weston, and Anders Nyberg from our Strava club, who all raced on Sunday. So that was just pretty cool to see them. Then Marie and Annika got second place.
Nice job.
And a little bit of a bummer, which hopefully these things are just going to go away.
Less and less bummers.
Less and less bummers. A to B Events, my favorite name for a race company, recently announced that they need 5 more teams to sign up for their epic A to B Ultra, which is happening at the ML Swimrun on August 21st. So we haven't chatted with them about this, but we, if I can speak for Chipper, are taking it on as a personal mission to try to get 5 teams to sign up for this 108K, 97K of running, 11K of swimming ultra, and this has to happen by June 15th so that we can experience FOMO from the U.S. Registration's open on raceid.com. And if you sign up after listening to us, let us know because we want to know if we actually got this done. And we'll reach out to A to B. But come on, people. It's 108K Ultra Swim Run. We need 5 more teams. Let's make it happen.
That's a doozy.
It's a doozy.
That's a doozy.
It's a lot of running.
It's a lot of day. It's a big day.
It's a big day. Anyway, that's it for this week. Feel free to email us to tip us off of any events or swimrun news that you'd like for us to share on the show.
Take a sip of water after that one, man.
That was a break.
That was now on to the Löw Tide Böyz updates for this week. So, as you may have heard or not, we have the Odyssey Swimrun discount code. Now, it works for any of their events, and they're going to sell out soon, so jump on it. and use the code Löw Tide 15, and that will save you 15% off your registration. You will see the Löw Tide Böyz at Casco Bay, at Orcas, and at Austin.
Yeah.
So we hope to see you out there, and we also hope to save you 15% off. Use the code Löw Tide 15 to finish up your registration there.
Yeah, make us look good.
You got to make us look good. So are you looking to waste some time on a YouTube rabbit hole? Well, you're in luck. As you may have heard and seen, we've been upping our video content over on the Löw Tide Böyz channel. So go check out our 2 newest videos, How to Practice Smooth Transitions, a step-by-step guide, Run to Swim Transition, and Swim to Run Transition. Chris was our excellent and glorious, handsome model we had. Additionally, he also did some modeling on the pool buoy mounting options video, which goes through 2 different styles of mounts that you can use to secure your swim run pool buoy. Additionally, we did a little show and tell with the Keel and the Keel Plus. You could take a look at that there. Let us know if you're liking this type of content so we can justify to our wives why we need to spend a bunch of money getting tons of camera equipment and additionally to all of our podcasting gear. Also, if you have ideas of things that you want to see or hear about the videos, just drop us a line in the DMs or whatever, and we'll get to those.
Yeah.
And a programming alert. Hopefully that wasn't anything vulgar in Morse code. We'll be releasing the Odyssey Swimrun Casco Bay course preview episode next week. So stay tuned to that one. Get your pens and papers and your notepads ready.
Yes.
Now,
Or just,
or just listen.
Yeah, or just read the show notes.
Just read the show notes. On to this week's interview with Keith and Kanoa.
Yeah, it was really great to chat with Team Keith and the Unicorn about their swimrun journey. While it hasn't taken long to start winning races, they definitely passed the swimrun vibe check, and it was really cool to see them at the start line at Swimrun Lake James, which they won. And we're looking forward to seeing them at a couple start lines ourselves because they're planning on doing Casco and Orcas, I believe. So we'll see them at the start line and then at the finish line a few hours after they're done. Anyway, in this interview, we chatted with them about how they found swimrun and each other, the genesis of their swimrun team name, how they approach swimming and racing, and we even got a little mini race report from their Swimrun Lake James long course victory from was it a month ago?
It was April, the end of April, a little over a month ago.
Yeah, so we talked to them about beer miles. We even gave them wetsuit recommendations and so much more. So it was pretty cool to get to know them, and we think, they're going to be great ambassadors for the sport. Super cool guys, super welcoming, just what we want in the sport. So it's great to chat with them.
Now, without further ado, Keith and the Unicorn. Can't believe I'm going to leave
that. Can you do like
a
rainbow fart? Because the unicorns do rainbow farts.
I don't know, how would they?
Like glitter.
Oh, like a glitter.
You put like a glitter sound, like a magic glitter
like
sound.
Like a magic, like a.
Something like that, or
so,
like.
Oh, like chimes. Okay, I'll figure it out.
Okay. All right, so with us today, we have Keith and the Unicorn. Team Keith and the Unicorn, which I've been saying for multiple episodes, it should be the 2 unicorns. But we have Kanoa King and Keith Lundquist on the show. Welcome, guys.
Hey, thanks. Pleasure to be here.
How are we doing?
Good, good.
Great.
So you guys are from the Shire, and no, we're not talking about Middle Earth. We're talking about the
I'm
Granite
out of here
State.
then. I thought we were going to talk about Frodo.
Frodo and Bilbo and shit. You guys are from the Granite State, representing for New Hampshire. How did you guys find out about each other, and when did you start doing swim runs and stuff?
Oh, man.
Well,
it's a big question, I know.
Yeah. I mean, we met through some friends through running. There's this loop called the Pemmy Loop, which is a 31-ish mile, 30 to 31, depending on all the peaks you hit, and about 10,000 feet of elevation gain.
That sounds wonderful.
And it's like one of the kind of go-to routes in New Hampshire. And a friend hooked us up. He's like, "Oh, you guys should run together." And so I think we met in the parking lot the morning of, and went and ran for 30 miles together. And you become friends with people pretty quick when you spend 8 hours in the mountains together.
Yeah. You either figure it out pretty quickly that, I guess I could probably hang out with this guy, or I never want to see them again. So it worked.
Hopefully you figure out that you want to hang out with them early on, and you figure out that you don't want to hang out with them towards the end. Because if it's reversed, that's a long day.
That's a long day.
Depends if they're slow though. Then you can just drop them though.
Oh yeah.
Yes, that's a good point.
That doesn't sound like that's a problem for you guys. So.
No.
Fortunately, we are pretty well paired, so it seemed to work out pretty well, and a whole bunch of runs at swim since then, and here we are.
Awesome. And where did so you both are kind of elite, more of the elite runners, I think is safe to say from what we've seen. Where does Swimrun kind of come on your radar, and who is the one that proposed it to the other? That's what I want.
Well, we both kind of started thinking about it a couple of years ago. I did actually. So we've only raced once together, and that was Lake James. I raced the short course solo at Casco Bay, and we planned on racing Casco last year, and obviously that didn't happen. So we started talking about it a couple of years ago, but now it's finally just kind of come together. I don't know who heard about it maybe first. I feel like a shout out, I guess, to Aaron Marsh and Amber. It might have been them actually that kind of got us turned on to it. But nice. I don't know. What do you think, Kanoa?
Yeah, I think it was probably Amber and Aaron, and we'll probably get back to this, but we like to shit talk them a lot.
Okay.
Well, shit is an operative word in the whole relationship.
That's the only way they're going to beat us is by pooping their pants. But yeah, it was probably them. I mean, Amber and I have bet a lot in the past. Amber was one of my first friends when I moved to New Hampshire.
Awesome.
And I've kind of hooked up with a good group of triathletes and ultra runners and bikers in the Concord area. And so she probably brought it up first, and they definitely raced before. I think they raced the year before you did, Keith.
Yeah, they did. Yep.
So probably them. And yeah, like I said, we talked about it in the year that Keith did the short course. I think I got married the week after, and I was taking a week off, so I couldn't make that work to race that year.
Come on, where's your commitment?
Yeah, I know. now she said I do. I'm just signing up for races all over the place.
Nice. And what allure or drew you into Swimrun? I mean, you have, I think, trail running and swimrun communities, and sort of overall, I guess, vibe, we'll call it, there is a lot of crossover there, and being more chill, if you will. But what kind of got you interested in Swimrun? It just seemed like the coolest adventure out there, or some other reason?
I mean, I think that, I mean, that's exactly it. Almost the vibe is very similar to trail running. Both of us had done a lot of long distance trail runs, and the adventure of it being outside, not the typical point A to point B or loop course, I think was really appealing, and it kind of fit our strengths. I did some triathlons before my kids were born, when they were really little. Mm-hmm. Did a couple Ironman races, and just didn't have the time really to put in on the bike, and I wasn't great at it either. But swimming and running was something that I thought suited both of our abilities, talents pretty good. So that was
and same thing for me. I mean, it was like the adventure of it, like the kind of point to point nature, like being able to be like, oh, I'm going to go from here to there. I mean, I think a lot of people say that, like being able to take yourself with your own body and see how far you can get or where we're going. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty cool way to see an area or adventure. I swam when I was young. I mean, like short distance, like sprint stuff. And like I was always around water. So this longer distance stuff obviously isn't quite my forte, but maybe if we get in the pool or swimming a little bit more, we'll get a little bit quicker in the water.
We definitely have to put in some more time in the pool. I think both of us leading up to this race, we had, I don't know, Kanoa maybe put in a month of time at the pool, and I put in 5 or 6 weeks too. So we got to definitely buckle down and get some time in the water.
I got in the pool 5 times. I looked today.
No offense. I think I might have dislocated an eyeball because I rolled my eyes so hard. You guys like, we should probably get in the pool some more. I mean, you guys did really, really great at Swimrun Lake James. You obviously won the long course, but to hold in Swimrun parlance, to hold basically like a 10:22 pace for the entire thing, like that's
spicy.
That is very, very spicy. I think 11, 12 minute, that's usually where most people are at. So yeah, I mean, I don't think you need to do any more swimming. Sounds like you're okay. But yeah, anyway, I just felt like I had to throw that in there to like calibrate for our audience that, we're talking, I mean, I know the type, right? You guys are super athletic, really fit, but also just like not assholes. So you're going to be very humble. But I feel like it's my job as a co-host to just like let people know like how impressive you guys have been doing, and basically one race together as partners. So you win Lake James. What's next for you guys? You guys have a full calendar of racing this year?
We've got, I mean, as far as swim run, we've got Casco Bay, and then we just signed up for Catalina. Nice. Definitely looking forward to those 2 races. We've got some running races, at least I do. Kanoa's, what are you going to run, Boston, Kanoa?
Going to run Boston in the fall, and my A race for the year just got canceled, so I'm kind of all in on the pool this summer. So
sweet.
I'm not saying I'm going to ever be at the level of the Boston Wet Sox, but maybe we might be able to catch their draft this time and swim right by us.
Yeah, that was, just going back again to Lake James, there were some phenomenal swimmers there. We got past in the water as if we were treading water. It was
humbling, very humbling.
to say the least. I mean, there was... Yeah, it was crazy to see those guys fly by.
Yeah, Greg and Bronwyn, they leave a wake usually when they pass
people
by.
Do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. We tried to catch it. We didn't.
It's like let me try to catch these. I mean, this is stuff that Chris and I are solidly mid-pack, probably back mid-pack, but every once in a while things are like, we can kind of race a little bit. Oh, here comes a team up on the side. I'm like, let me try to catch the feet here. And it's like 2 strokes. I'm like, there they go. Okay, well, I'll go back to just cruise control. Back to plan A. Just keeping it chill.
We did. I mean, we trained a lot though, Kanoa, last year. We got in a bunch of open water swim run, training between the Lakes region in New Hampshire and then out by where Kanoa lives, out along the coast in Portsmouth. We trained actually quite a bit, planning on racing Casco last year. And that obviously it kind of last minute, unfortunately didn't happen, but for all the right reasons, it's totally fine. But anyway, so it may be our first race, but I feel like we knew each other pretty well and, figured it out fairly. We've had some time to work out the kinks, I guess, of racing together as a team. So,
yeah. I mean, once a week, we're doing a short course, essentially. I mean, we're doing like a 15-mile run, swim every week, pretty much. I have Thursdays off with my work schedule, and it worked out with Keith. And Keith's wife would watch my newborn baby at the time.
That did work out well.
And so we put in 3-hour efforts. And we were both very fortunate. Like I live right running distance to the ocean, and there's a nice little island that we can hop between. And there's only a couple boats that we got a little close to, but
that's true.
I think Keith's family has a place up on the lakes region, and we put together some pretty sweet little swim runs. I mean, I don't know, maybe swim run New Hampshire 2022.
There's a lot of potential options, that's for sure.
Yeah, is it a funny, like once you start swim running, you're sort of
look at everything differently.
Your view of everything, it's just like, this could be pretty cool for a swim run. It's like, I wonder if I could swim over there.
Yeah.
Man, so you guys are getting in 3-hour swim runs multiple times a month. I mean, that's you're coming up to speed rather quickly. What were a couple things that you found were steeper learning curves than kind of what you anticipated on your journey from like trail running into, or you try multi-sport into swim run?
Yeah, for me, I mean, like my cardio, like I've been running now for like 5 years. I mean, I ran in high school but like kind of got into ultra running through a dumb bet with my brother. And so that cardio has come back, and I've kind of gone all in on that and done some pretty long distance races in the ultra scene. And so my cardio has been great, but I remember like I swam through high school, and like, again, like I said, sprinting distances, like 200 was long. And so now my cardio is so good, but my arms are just these little chicken runner arms. And I can't get, like, I could for 100 I can get my heart rate up swimming, but like other than that, like I just like the strength aspect, like that's the biggest thing for me. I mean, like I knew how to swim before. It just is building that swimming strength, which comes back with time in the pool or time in the water. But
for sure,
that was the biggest thing for me.
And it took us a little bit of time too, I think, to figure out just the equipment side of thing. You know, the tether. I think we first started off with like a tether that was probably like, I don't even know how long that thing was. It was way
30
too
feet
long,
or something.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So trying to figure out, you know, the tether and how you hooked it up. And we had like these belts and I don't know. So I think we're slowly figuring that out too. The shoes that I first wore probably weighed 10 pounds when they were wet. Like now I think we've still figuring things out. Obviously haven't totally figured it out, but getting there for sure. So
yeah, I don't think anyone has it totally figured out.
Yeah, well, that's probably true.
I think the way that we kind of feel it's going, I mean, when you first get in, there is a lot of, you feel like, you know, like you're at a construction site, like you got a job tool belt going on, you got like paddles hanging off of it, you got all sorts of things. But as you kind of like get more comfortable with transitioning and flowing between swimming and running and swimming, it's like, oh, less is more usually. It kind of gets that feeling.
I mean, you can almost tell the inexperienced swim runners by the number of carabiners they have on. Like the more experience you have, typically the fewer carabiners and the fewer things you have, because you're just, you know, you're comfortable with it, you know, all that stuff. So that's definitely part of kind of the fun of it. Also, I mean, there's so many ways to skin the cat, right? Yeah. Different types of wetsuits, pull buoys, shoes, paddles, that I think there's just enough for the people that are gearheads, which I think, if I can speak for Chipper, we're definitely we enjoy the gear talk. But if you're not, I mean, it's fine, right? there's definitely enough stuff.
You do you.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And then I think you're right too. Though the simplest solution seems like oftentimes it's probably the best solution. So figuring that out, it's been great. I do need to get a wetsuit for this next. I got a little bit of time, I guess, before Casco, but I used Kanoa's. What was that? Your old wetsuit for Lake James, and it worked, but it's definitely
an old head. Yeah,
probably not the best.
It was good. It was better than your first one, but
that's true.
It was no arc.
No, that's true.
Yeah,
that's
true.
Once you take a look at the arcs, things are a little bit. It's a game changer.
I don't want to say this on the podcast because maybe my wife's going to listen to this later, but I think I need to buy the whole lineup now.
Well, we would recommend it.
Well, this is for her, so she can come up with like really good, you know, anniversary and Christmas and birthday presents and stuff.
I mean, Father's Day is coming up in a couple weeks, right?
Absolutely,
that's true.
Absolutely. So this is from the ARC lineup. I really think you only need 3 out of the 4 suits.
Conservative approach.
I would say the Corp for training. So you know, especially if you can get it on sale, it's a great suit for training. I think the Vig. Well, I'll talk about the Vig last because that's like my favorite suit of all time. The Uta, the new Uta, which is their top of the line one, like that has the most technology.
It's the most advanced.
It's the cutting edge. Yeah. It's the best suit that you could get for the money. I mean, it's just the best suit out there. I haven't seen anything that matches that in terms of tech and keeping you warm but being super thin. It's also kind of fragile, so that's why you don't want to like use it that often. And then the sort of the warm weather version of that is the Vig. So anything that would be over like 56 degrees water temp, 57 degrees water temp, the Vig is super light. It's almost like
swim skin.
It's like a swim skin. It's amazing.
Nice.
Amazing
Casco
technology.
Bay. That's what we need.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to be a little cold for cat. Well, actually, I don't know.
Casco will be 16. It'll be hot outside.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's August.
So
yeah, that could be good.
swim,
But anyway, so for your wife, that's
the shopping list right there.
That's shopping. Okay.
I'll pass that along to Liz for you. I'm sure that'll go
Okay.
over well.
Yeah,
I'll
that's
do
when
the same to Leah.
Yeah, perfect.
I do that with my buddies as well. It's like, okay, just float this great idea by for a gift to your friend's wife, and then like all your other friends do it, and she's like, "Are you guys in a group text?" We're like, "What? I don't know what you're talking about." But 4 people text me the same idea about a new TV at Costco that they saw. So you guys aren't too slick. Nice. So obviously your team strategy is very much skewing run heavy at the moment. It seems like, as you talked about earlier, but would love to kind of hear a little bit about your general thoughts about how Swimrun Lake James went. I mean, it seemed like a hell of a day out there with all sorts of weather and chilly water temps. And for your first real swimrun race, how did it live up to the expectations?
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
it was
yeah,
great.
it's a great venue. Obviously, I wish the weather was maybe a little different on race day, but you can't do anything about that. So we got down there on Thursday, so we had a couple days before the race was on Saturday. So we had a couple days to really check out the course pretty well.
Nice.
And so we actually probably swam more on Thursday and Friday than we had, most. Like that totaled our weekly mileage.
Wow.
Any given week, yeah.
Yeah, but every given right, we're leading up to that. So anyway, but it was really good to check out the course, and we kind of figured out where we were going to try and make up most of our time. Again, it's no secret, I guess. Trying to just run as fast as we possibly could. So, but yeah, what do you have to add, Kanoa? That was
I think just getting out on the course made a huge difference. I mean, we saw probably 80% of the course prior to the race, including like we did 7 of the 8 miles of that long run section, which worked out awesome to know where we could really push on that. I mean, we knew we had to run hard. I mean, like we had no idea about the guys who were in second. Who were they?
the California guys, right?
California guys. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, we didn't see them all day. They were right behind us coming out of the water, apparently. But
Yeah, so that's the Mighty Boosh.
the
That's
Mighty Boosh.
Jack
I mean,
McCaffey
those guys
and
were-
Greg Harper, who's the son of a famous triathlon coach and also pro triathlete, or at least maybe he was a pro triathlete.
Okay.
So yeah, definitely no slouches in the water.
Yeah, for sure. And we knew that Lars and John were going to be there, and we knew that Greg and Bronwyn were going to be there. So we thought maybe we just push really hard right off the start. And I think the first swim leg was 800 yards or something like that. And we were like, oh, maybe if we get around this tree, we can power hike through the water and save us 25 yards. And then we kind of realized that you could probably power hike for 200 yards in thigh deep, which probably wasn't any faster than swimming, but it definitely saved our shoulders. So I think just all that beta that we got the 2 days prior made a huge difference for us. And knowing kind of oh, this is going to be the really hard, this is going to be the steepest, most technical section on some of the runs, made a huge difference. But the course was so well marked, even on the areas that where you're bushwhacking through an island. They did such an awesome job in such remote areas too. Really incredible course.
Just the fact that they had it. I mean, we were there on Thursday kind of wondering, are we even going to be able to figure out where we're supposed to go? And the course was all, I think, what we saw anyway, 100% marked on Thursday afternoon. Mm-hmm. So we were able to really get to know it. And they had strobe lights for the swims, which was huge on some of the longer swims in the rain. Would have been really hard to figure out really where you were going. And so, you can't say enough good things about the race directors there. They put together a really good race.
Totally. And it sounds like, doing that course preview or reconnaissance earlier really paid dividends because you were able to apply your learnings to your specific tactics that you had. And I think it's a good thing to try to do if you have the idea to. Same with Chris and I had in a Swimrun Odyssey Austin. There was an area where you could do these big cliff jumps that were 20 feet up off these cliffs into the Colorado River, which we were obviously like, yeah, we're super game for this. This seems fun because we love the Casco Bay dock jump. That was like really cool. But then we also kind of were chatting like, hey, if we're moving well and we feel like we're doing well, we can actually just run all the way down and like basically cut off 100, 200 yards of swimming, which obviously even at running at our speed is faster than swimming. So we were feeling good and we just kind of cut off the cliff jump. You know, we didn't have the photo op, so there's that. But yeah, just having a little bit of course recon is super, super helpful. You guys were spoiled,
the other thing too I'll say is just going through the motions of all those transitions. You can burn a ton of time in those transitions, and there was a lot at Lake James. There's 13, I think. So just the day or two before, we had just going through the motions of, okay, this, you're gonna goggle, whatever your routine is, but goggles, paddles, pull buoy, whatever it is, however you do it, and just going through the motions of that a few times, I think saved us a bunch of times, transitioning from run to swim and back. So we did one training swim run around here, and it was pretty short because the water in the pond that we were swimming in, I think, was in the low 40s. But so being able to have the option of or the opportunity to go through the motions a few times was huge.
Definitely. Yeah,
that's something that just gets better with practice. The more times you can practice your transitions, the better. For sure.
So you obviously have a great race. You finished first, not by a lot. Could you see, second place? Were you guys just dogging it out towards the end of the race? Like how'd that?
Yeah, that last swim, it was a short swim too. I think it's like 100 yards. We had probably a 50-yard head start on the Wet Sox, and they passed us getting out of the water.
Wow.
So, but even then, I mean, so they passed.
John and Lars were right behind us too,
and the Greg
Bush,
yeah. Those guys were right there too. Which again, we didn't really see them. So it ended with a 2.5 mile run, and I was just most of the runs we're pretty well matched, but that last run anyway, Kanoa let out, and I was just trying to hang on. I was trying not to throw up. But we pushed pretty hard in those last 2.5 miles. It's all trails, or mostly trails, and we just went as quickly as we possibly could. So we put a little bit of time back on.
Yeah, and that's basically how the race was won. You relied on your strength, and you just kind of just
head down,
dropped the hammer at the end.
Put it in gear.
Yeah, I will say, I mean, one thing when we first started talking about it, I wasn't sure how we were going to work together as a team, but I think we work. We do. We work really well together. Our abilities are pretty close to each other. They're really close to each other, and Kanoa pulls his weight more in the trash talking department for our team. He definitely probably does, 110% of our team's trash talking, which again, it works. So, but other than that, I mean, our swimming and running is very comparable. So it works really well.
Nice. Do you, it sounds like, do you have a kind of a set process on who's leading swims and runs, or it's kind of who's ever feeling it in the moment? And you guys have that sort of experience, obviously have a lot of experience racing endurance events to know who's in the gutter and who's feeling good.
Yeah, I mean, we had a plan for the swims and runs, and we kind of stuck to that through the long run and then the long swim. And we came out of that long swim, and my shoulders were just were toast. I wasn't feeling strong in the swim. And the thing about Keith, he's not a pretty swimmer. Nothing about him is pretty, and I think he'll admit that. But his gear is go, and he just doesn't stop. So he just keeps cruising. And so I was like, "How are your arms feeling?" On one of the mile runs after the long set of swims with the islands there. And I'm like, "Do you feel good to I took the short swims, and then Keith took that last long swim, and he kind of just pulled me along, and I was barely hanging on there, but that was a rough last swim for me. But
and again, and this is all relative.
An idea of what was going to happen, but we kind of mixed it up on the fly there.
Yeah,
nice. Yeah, we had a similar. since you guys are doing Catalina, we did Catalina last year as well. And the last swim is this kind of 1,400 yard dog leg swim. And Chris is like, I'm toast, but I'm just going to go until my shoulders blow up. And then then I came around back. But you got way further than I kind of anticipated because you were like, I'm going to go to that boat. I'm like, cool, that works.
I got further than I thought I was going to go too. I was just, because the whole time I'm having like, I'm just being like, I'm being the weakest link or whatever, which I was trying not to, but I was really, my shoulders were.
It was a long day
done.
for us.
My shoulders were done.
I think. Yeah, I think that's another one of the beauties of Swimrun too. I mean, I don't know that I really realized it until this last race too, where, that there's in the middle of Lake James, there's this 8 mile, fairly, hilly run. And at least I was anyway, there was, a couple of the hills I was kind of dogging it or, really feeling it. And then the next one, maybe I don't know. I guess I was feeling a little bit better, but realizing that Kanoa was maybe feeling it a little bit more. So you totally feed off each other. Like, all right, well, he's hurting, I'm hurting a little bit, but we're going to get through it. And so that was a pretty cool part of the race that I didn't totally expect going into it. So that was kind of something neat that we
were you guys tethered the whole time?
We didn't tether at all.
You tether at all?
Yeah, we
should have on the long swims.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely used up, I think, some extra, kind of energy and strength trying to constantly. You could draft, but it wasn't as easy with the tether, I thought. So yeah, we'll definitely be tethering up for the next. Oh, well, you have to anyway, but we'll get used to that again.
Yeah, it's a good way. You get real time, like haptic feedback on how your partner's doing without asking them.
Yeah,
which is nice.
Yeah,
we were just
for sure.
hitting each other in the feet with our paddles.
Yeah, we do that too.
Yeah,
I wonder if Kanoa's still there, and then all of a sudden, smash! Oh yeah, he's still there.
Yeah, we do like Morse code and stuff. I'll just be like, "Screw you, Chipper, slow down."
And I'm like, "Is that 2 taps or long?"
So you guys have Casco coming up. This is your first race together. Anything that you would do differently, or any tips? Or anything that you learned that you're going to sort of absorb into your sort of team matrix as you head into your next race?
Well, we'll definitely swim more. The temperature around here is warming up. We got a bunch of days in the 80s coming up. So hopefully some of the lakes and ponds that we have around us will warm up, get out of the 40s to 50s and maybe even hit 60 soon. So we'll be able to swim outside. So that'll be good. We'll definitely get used to the tether. I think that's a bunch of it right there. We both have a lot of, running miles under our belt. I was coming off a 100-miler in January. So I think we're good in that department. Got a couple running races in the middle of the summer, So again, I think it'll be really focused just around spending some time swimming.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Well, that's definitely what, this is a hot take, but I think if you're a really good swimmer, Swimrun is easier.
Yeah, that's true.
I concur.
One thing that hasn't come up, and this was maybe part of your question, but it needs to be mentioned. So in the middle of COVID, we're doing a bunch of training. Kanoa does this. Actually, what did he? Probably one of the best athletic achievements I think that I've heard of, especially in COVID, and it doesn't get more COVID, performance than this, but it was, with the lockdowns and everything going on. Was it a beer a mile for 22 miles? Whoa,
21
Wait,
miles.
A beer.
Yeah. So 21 beers, 21 miles with a 5K effort in the middle of it.
The end of it
at like 6-minute pace. So this wasn't going to get brought up in the podcast, but it's something that needs to get talked about.
Wait, no.
That wasn't on our radar.
Someday I hope to be able to, at least try to repeat that.
Hold on. So I have as a journalist, I have to ask one question.
What kind of beer?
Sure.
Why?
So there's a group that I run with, the Seacoast Long Run group.
Mm-hmm.
And when Boston got canceled, they're all a bunch of road runners, and they like to try the trails, and they're a lot of fun when watching them do trails. Like, it's cute.
Like tripping like baby deer.
But we created the Seacoast Long Run Group Olympics, and every week was a different challenge. So like, like one week was like a descending pace. So like you start at 8-minute pace and you have to drop by at least 5 seconds every mile, and you don't get points until you hit 10 miles, and then you get more points from there. And
so like everyone starts at like 18-minute pace. Something?
Well, no, you have to start at 8 was the slowest.
Oh, you have to start at 8. Yeah. Oh, damn. Okay.
Yeah. But then there's like Strava segments, and then there's a beer week. And so the beer week, there was like one that you're collecting cans, and like however many cans you got points for cans. And then there was a beer mile in there, obviously. I think there was running to a brewery was one of the challenges. And then the other challenge, like the big challenge, the big point getter was matching the number of beers and miles you run in a day. And so like you didn't have to run and drink at the same time. But
you did.
But I did. And my wife, I think I had a 5-week-old at the time.
Wow.
And I was
like a cry for help.
If I go and run 20 miles, or 21 miles, that's going to take me 2.5 hours. And then I'm going to just drink 20 beers all day. And then I'm just going to be a deadbeat dad. And so instead I did the drinking while I was running.
Sure.
And I had my brother and brother-in-law to be riding a bike with a cooler and giving me beers every mile. And then I had a dry heaving fit at like mile 16. And so I just was ready to get it over with. So I pounded a beer, did a hard 5K, and then drank a few beers in the last 2 miles to make up for the ones I missed.
Wow.
Jesus.
Yeah.
What is this, Coors Light or natural ice? What are we guzzling down here?
Miller Lite. Classic.
Miller Lite.
Yeah.
I mean, at least go with like Michelob or something. Isn't that like the athlete's beer? Michelob Ultra?
Yeah, Ultra. Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. I've never seen anyone drink a Michelob in my life. So
no.
That is impressive. Made my stomach turn, though. I got to be honest with you. I don't know. Usually, like when one beer throws off, that just cancels any athletic endeavor for the rest of the day for me. It's like, all right, I'm hanging out.
Wow, that's super impressive. And were you like hallucinating at any point during this thing, or just
I have like a full video of it, and I definitely start getting like slurring my speech talking about it. And yeah. I mean, you definitely buzz. You're not like really drunk, but like you're burning off that as you're going. And they're 4% beers, 4.5%. So they're not too bad.
And you won, right? You won the challenge.
So the funny thing is, like, I actually got beat. Someone did 22 miles.
Whoa!
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Dave Chorney.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He drank his beers all after. He didn't drink any beers during.
Oh, okay. Dave, come on.
So, yeah.
I mean, I think if I drank 22 beers, I would, first of all, wouldn't be able to leave the bathroom, and I think I would die.
That's a lot. It's a lot, but it's actually not. In terms of fueling your runs, you got some liquid, you got some carbs in there.
Exactly. That's about 77 calories per Miller Lite. So I did the math at one point. It wasn't right, but I did try and do the math.
You did some bit of math.
Around beer 16, and so I was a little off on my math there.
I think this might be a new sponsorship opportunity. Kanoa. Keith and the Unicorn should get sponsored.
Brought to you by Miller Lite.
Brought to you by Michelob Ultra
on Instagram, but they did repost one of my things, but they didn't give me a sponsorship.
Nice. Well, you haven't
been on the Löw Tide Böyz yet.
And this is actually what I do professionally. So I'll be on the lookout for you guys. I'll see if I can score some.
Nice. So you have, I don't think you have any more beer chugging, running contests coming up this year, but you have Casco Bay, and then what will be your first sort of Attila European style swim run there in Catalina. Gotta be excited about that one.
Yeah, we're super psyched for that. I mean, our friends Aaron and Amber did it, and they spoke super highly of the course, and Aaron talks a big game and how she's just going to beat us, but any chance I get a chance to beat Aaron at something, it makes me feel better about myself as a person. Just so I can just build my shit talking game.
Yeah.
And just pile it on her. like she piled her shit in her wetsuit that day at Casco.
Episode 12.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
Episode
Catalina is going to be incredible. I mean, we're obviously that's a big A race for us. So the goal, the goal, maybe like everyone, I don't know, but the goal for us is to try and make it to Sweden. So it would be that's hopefully a stepping stone. But yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it is a stepping stone, and I think you guys will love it. I think if you're already enjoying the swim run scene, it's the same with Chipper and me. Like, we're super stoked on the sport, and then we show up at Catalina with all the European and the whole vibe of the whole thing, and it was just like, oh yeah, it's this is an international thing. This isn't just the Granite State Endurance Project folks like being super cool. It's like the swim run scene. I mean, everyone's just super cool, whether European or American, and I think it's I think seeing it firsthand for the first time you guys are gonna love it.
For sure.
Awesome. Yeah, looking forward to it for sure.
Water's just it's like you're swimming in a fish tank. Like the big fish tanks at a fancy restaurant or something. It feels like you're in there, all these little fish going around.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That was just me. That's the things I think about when instead of swimming hard.
When
look at all these fish.
Fancy restaurants. So you just mentioned that your aspirations are to try to qualify for the World Championship. Is that like on a timeline? You guys are you're just trying to see how far you can take this.
Yeah, I mean, I think it wouldn't have. I don't think it wouldn't happen this year, but 2022, I think would be on the potentially on the agenda. So, or that would be on the agenda. So that's seeing how far we can take it, and for sure. I mean, like you said, everything we've liked it. Really, everything about the sport so far, from hanging out afterwards with all the teams from Lake James and. Just that whole vibe around the start line and finish line and after party has just been a ton of fun. It suits our abilities, I think, pretty well. And so, we'll just kind of see where it goes from here, I suppose.
Yeah, and it sounds like you have two amazing supporting wives, which
we do. Huge shout out to Leah and Liz. That is for sure, for damn sure.
Yeah, that's the only way we get our training in, the support of them and taking care of the girls.
Absolutely. Yeah. We've got, I've got two girls. Kanoa's obviously got one that's a little younger. So actually, you know what though? Kanoa, Ella's my oldest daughter is 8. She'll be able to babysit soon. So we'll be good. This
got
summer.
it all taken care of now.
Yeah.
You're all good. So how did the name Keith and the Unicorn come about?
Well, I mean, so I have a daughter Ella who's 8 and a daughter Addie who's 6, and so my house right now is filled with sparkling unicorns and Barbies and all that stuff. Yeah. So Kanoa said when I was signing us up for Casco Bay last year, he said, "No, come up with a team name, sign us up, let me know." I was like, well, no input here? No, you guys, you figure it out. Okay, fine. So I'm like sitting down with Ella and Addie and like, all right, we need a name. So like, wow, we could call Kanoa Unicorn. Like, that could work. How about Unicorn? So I was like, all right, yeah, perfect. So we got to work on, we got to get some t-shirts, I think, or some hats.
It does lend itself well to merch.
You definitely do. And this is a big push of mine. I think that, you guys should come up with a logo, make shirts. I think this can be a thing. Like we're trying to get our friends we even sent a logo to the Swimrun monks. I don't think they've done anything with it, but it was basically like a monk kind of sitting on a lotus leaf, but also had like a pool buoy or something. Mm-hmm. So it was like monkish. But we think people should have logos and stuff. Like when we showed up at Catalina, dare I say we were the only branded amateur team.
Yeah, they're like, what are these guys? Who are these people?
It's like, we're the Löw Tide Böyz. Here we are.
It'll look
good,
official.
Yeah.
So I
think looking at your logo, we could throw a unicorn in the center of that riding a wave.
Oh yeah,
there you go.
Or a unicorn with like
with a mustache. The unicorn definitely has got to have a mustache. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah. See, we're already design thinking here.
Let's get some mock-ups going and back and forth. We'll have it to print in no time.
Yeah.
In no
Here
time.
we go.
Yeah, because I mean, I just think, I love the name. Again, I think you guys are really two unicorns because it takes two. So maybe one's a Pegasus, one's I don't know, whatever you want to go with it. But love the name. We're really glad that you guys took the time to be on the show with us. You know, like we mentioned this before we went on the air, like we're all about just trying to highlight teams in the U.S. that are trying to go big, that are just doing fun stuff and are really loving the sport. So you guys fit that bill, and just want to thank you again for taking the time to be on the show, guys.
Cool. Yeah, pleasure to be here. I mean, it's not every day you get the privilege of being on the premier, Swimrun podcast. So
it's top in the world.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
yeah,
our
thank
10,
you guys.
our
Are you
10
guys going to be at
listeners will
Casco,
appreciate it.
or when are we going to see you?
Yeah,
we'll be at Casco,
right.
and then we'll be at Orcas, and then Austin, and then Catalina. So, we'll see you at the start and finish of whatever races you're at.
On the ferry.
Yeah. See you on the ferry, and then you guys will probably already be 20 beers in by the time we cross the finish line.
No one will be 20 beers in. I don't know. That's another part of our team where we're not quite equal. You could drink me under the table, I think, for now if you wanted to.
Maybe.
Sounds like another challenge.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Right.
Keep us surprised with that one, please. Well, Keith and Unicorn, it's been grand. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Appreciate you guys coming on. And we will see you at Casco Bay, if not sooner.
Awesome.
And we'll be rooting for you. So, cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to the Löw Tide Böyz, a Swimrun podcast. Make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast and leave a review on iTunes if you're so inclined.
You can also sign up for a newsletter at lowtideboys.com. That's boys with a Z. And check out our meme page at The Löw Tide Böyz on Instagram. If you have any questions or suggestions for the show, drop us an email at lowtideboys@gmail.com.
We'd like to thank Writing Easy Records for our show music, and of course our wives for their support and tolerance of our swimrun activities, hobbies, and other bullshit we do.
Finally, you can support our efforts on Patreon. Until next time, get out there and go for a swim.
And then a run.
And then another swim.
Then another run.
And then another swim.
And then run to the finish line. And just keep going until you're done.
Yes, or
until
run
you
to
cross the finish line.
Or run to the car.
Or run to your car.
Somewhere. Just keep running.
Peace.